be better than mine. But you guys in SB, I think you read, was that in your textbook? You read about William Kamkwamba?
Oh no, it's not us.
Ah, different class.
Kosan SB, I think. I think it was Kosan.
Kosan?
Yeah.
It's Koni. Okay. Anyway, but everybody else, you guys have all read The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So, without further ado, it's, time's running, so Jeremiah, I'll leave it to him.
Okay, just to interject, for SA1 students, it's not my class, but I will be giving you guys points based on participation today. So please don't disrespect and interrupt, all right? It's not my class, but still, I have class authority. Thank you.
That obviously goes the same for SA2, okay? And if you have questions, be writing down. Be writing down if you have questions. It'll be about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Okay, what's up, everybody? How are you guys doing? Good? Good afternoon. My name is Jeremiah Chienda. I'm from Malawi. A lot of my Japanese friends call me Jerry, like Tom and Jerry, so you could feel free to call me that. This is me when I was, I think, 3 years old, and that's my mother. I was born in a southern district of Malawi called Cholo in 1990. I am named after my grandfather, who was a reverend or a church minister. He was actually the second African General Secretary of the Presbyterian Church in Malawi. And my father's name is Joshua. It's another biblical name. So I'm from a strong Christian family. And he is of a tribe called Chewa, which is the main tribe in my country. And he comes from the central part of Malawi called Lilongwe. And my mother, her name is Elube. And she is from a tribe called Lomwe, and she comes from Mulanje, which is in the southern part of my country. And I have one younger brother. His name is Joshua Jr. He doesn't like to be called Junior, so he's bigger than me. He's buffer and he's got a deeper voice. He's born in 1996, and he's actually a medical student in Malawi, and he wants to become a gynecologist. And I went to an international school in Malawi called St. Andrews International High School. And there is, I got a chance to do many things and learn many different subjects, including drama, which was my favorite subject in high school. Now, my mother wanted me to be a doctor, medical doctor. I think that's what she wanted to be when she was growing up. I didn't want to be a doctor. I don't like cutting things up, especially people. And so I figured that the best way to curb that is for me to study drama instead of biology. So I dropped biology so that because I'd be forced to pass it if I took it, right? So I figured if I dropped biology, then I would never be a doctor. And so I took drama, which was a little bit weird for a lot of people, including my parents at first, but I figured that over time, it was one of the best decisions that I ever made in high school, because it really just changed my perspective of life and helped me to become a more effective public speaker and a presenter of idea and thought when with my drama experience, as you will find out why in a while. How many have watched the movie The Matrix? Right, so I watched The Matrix when I was young. You guys must be quite young. So I'm 25, by the way, if you calculate it. So I watched The Matrix when I was young, and it's my favorite movie of all time, my favorite trilogy. And a lot of people love it because of, all the cool stuff, the dodging the bullets and all that stuff. And actually, my favorite character was not Neo, because I was not the popular kid in high school. I wasn't popular among ladies. And I wasn't an athlete. I was a quite chubby kid. So I figured out that I would never relate with Neo's, what he goes through. But the guy that I really liked in The Matrix was the guy that made Neo awesome. He's the guy that allowed Neo to be who he was. He's the guy behind the computer screen, and he would hack into all of these weapon systems and give Neo the weapons. And I figured out that that guy is as important to the story as Neo was. And I figured that I don't have to confront the ladies, and I don't have to be super strong. But I could just be behind a computer screen and I could change the world, and that's when I decided that is my field of study. And that's when I decided I wanted to be a computer programmer. after watching that movie. That's me in 2011 when I graduated from the University of Malawi. I look very happy. And that's my mother there with, she got all the flowers. Those are my aunts on either side of me and my mom. And down right there is my little niece. Her name is Mpatso, which means gift in my language. And basically, in 2006, before I went to the University of Malawi, I actually applied to go to university in America. I was part of a program called USAP, which tried to mobilize deserving students in African countries and developing countries in general to try to get them on a full need scholarship in high-level, high-competitive American colleges. And I didn't get into any 4 of the colleges. But I was selected to go to the University of Malawi, where I studied information technology, and programming was one of my favorite subjects. I, in college, did not only focus on the academic aspect of it, I actually was a very well-rounded student in college. I pursued sports commentary. I also took my drama experience, and I, was part of theater groups, and I was making and being involved in plays in college. And I also pursued a rap career in college. I actually have a few records on YouTube and on SoundCloud. If you're interested, I could give you links to those. That sports is actually, I love sports. I love football and basketball as well. And I actually have been on television, national television in Malawi a couple of times to present and to analyze, sporting events, especially international games, as well as some games where international team would come to play against Malawi. So yeah, I kind of lived the life in college. I was also president of a social club called Ben Carson. We did a lot of debates. Now, under my term, we never lost a debate. We were ruthless, and I'm very proud of that. I graduated in 2011. I could have graduated in 2010, but what happens is that a lot of people that go to public school in Malawi would not be able to afford to live in the city, because a lot of them would come from the village. There will be deserving students that have done very well in a village school, and so they're coming to the first time that they're coming to the city. They don't have enough money. Their parents cannot afford to pay for their tuition, so the government has to give them government grants for them to survive in public university. But sometimes the government doesn't have enough money, so the government grant would take 2-3 months. They would have allowances due for 2-3 months. And obviously the students would get rowdy because they can't buy books. They can't buy, to be honest, most of them don't even buy the books, they buy other things. But they would get rowdy anyway, and they would start to riot. So basically would just start to strike, grab desks, throw them outside the school campus, break the windows, go grab branches and leaves, put them outside the staff room, so they would try to frustrate the teachers, and they would just get really angry. Don't try that, by the way. That doesn't turn out very well, because usually what happens is that the police comes and they come in a big tank. I don't know about here, but so they would throw tear gas in the classroom to try to disperse the students. And I've been in situations like those before, and trust me, it's not very pretty, because you are, breathing heavy, and your tears coming out, and everything else is coming out, and you're trying to find water, but there isn't none. And basically, because of these strikes and these riots, school would close, sometimes for months, sometimes for 4 or 5 months. And so my school calendar was constantly being interrupted. So when I graduated in 2011, I was very happy. And then after I graduated, I spent a few months job hunting, because it's just so difficult to get the type of job that you want. Luckily, after a few months, I got a job with MTL, which is the Malawi Telecommunications Limited. And then after that, I still wanted to be a programmer, because I wasn't doing programming stuff at MTL. So I managed to get a job later on at a bank called NBS Bank, which was really cool. And because I would see all the transactions happen behind the scenes, and I would, if I felt important, because if I made one mistake, the bank would lose so many millions. So they had to treat me right. So, so when I got the scholarship advertisement in the newspaper, I decided I wanted to apply to do my master's in Japan. And after a few, tests and screenings and stuff like that, and writing letters and going to my teachers and asking them to write letters if they remembered me. I managed to get the scholarship, and I quit my job. So right now I don't have a job. I'm a full-time student here in Japan. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about my country. I'm from Malawi. This is Malawi. And for those that, you know, I know it's like a bit of a close-up, but if you can imagine Africa being this weird shape right here, Malawi would be somewhere right there in the, you know, in the southern tip of Africa. And we're surrounded by Tanzania, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe. We're a landlocked country, but we've got the third biggest freshwater lake in Africa, sixth biggest in the lake. And we were a British colony until 1964 when we got independence. And after that, we've had a leader who is Dr. Banda, who got educated in America as well as Britain, came back to Malawi, became life president until 1994 when we got democracy and we could now start to vote. Among the 10 poorest countries in the world, according to gross domestic product per capita, so a lot of people in Malawi live under $1 a day. We have a population of approximately 17 million people, and that's growing quite rapidly. There isn't too many things to do in the village when there's no electricity and water, so you just, you know, make babies. And we're a landlocked country, as I said. And but we've got the third largest lake in Africa, and we've got more than 8 ethnic tribes and 6 different languages. And so sometimes you would have a girlfriend in your own country that you don't even speak the same language with. So that's pretty cool. And that's Lake Malawi, and it's an exotic, beautiful place. As I said, we've got about 800 to 1,000 different species of fish that are only found in a particular lake. You could, a lot of people think it's just a normal lake until they see the pictures and they think, wait, is this an ocean? And I'm like, no, it's actually a lake. We've got 5 national parks in Malawi. You know, the big 5 animals in savanna Africa. You talk about buffaloes, not giraffes, the buffaloes. We've got giraffes too, but buffaloes, rhinos, lions, leopards, you know, all of that stuff are available in the national parks. We are sometimes called the warm heart of Africa because the people are very, very kind, a little too polite sometimes. And we are an agricultural country. But now, over the last 5 to 10 years, there have been newfound deposits of oil in Lake Malawi, as well as uranium and other minerals. Uranium is used to make nuclear electricity, hopefully. And so there's countries or companies that are mining uranium right now in Malawi. So that's another sort of export from Malawi. Our biggest export traditionally is tobacco. I'm not very proud of it, but that's what puts food on the table for the Malawian government. About 50%, 40 to 50% of the foreign exchange of Malawi comes from tobacco sales. 70% of the people live in the village where there's little access to running water and electricity. Some of the wells that people use to get their water from are just very, very dangerous. And, you know, can cause all sorts of different types of diseases. Electricity is a definite no-no, as I said, so, you know, that's why the population keeps growing. We say that bedtime in Malawi is 6:30 p.m. because unless there's a full moon outside, there's really nothing else to do. 40% of adults are illiterate. Those are people above the age of 45. They cannot read and write. A lot of the young people now can be able to read and write because of, in 1994, when we got independence, the government decided to start a free primary education program. So a primary school education, or elementary school, I guess, is free for everybody, but from secondary school going upward, you have to pay for it. So at least, you know, the young people are able to read and write and speak a little bit of English. We continue to be affected by rainfall patterns that are not consistent, and that sometimes affects our agriculture output. We are heavily dependent on agriculture. Everybody owns a little field that they grow their own food for the year. And so when the rain doesn't fall like it's supposed to, then people, you know, they would probably waste their crop, right? They would, you know, spend all this money to buy a crop. They put it in the ground, there's no rain, the crop dries out, they don't have enough money, they don't eat for the rest of the year, and there's a hunger crisis. So, and now with the climate change, what's happening is that these rainfall patterns are becoming continuously more inconsistent. And yet Malawi has got one of the lowest carbon emission footprints in the world, but gets to be one of the greatest sufferers from climate change. This year's El Nino is going to affect Ethiopia and Malawi the worst in Africa, and it is one of the most intense El Nino situations. For those that don't know El Nino, it's a weather pattern that causes drought and flooding in most countries in the world. 2015 was the warmest year on record. 2014 was the warmest year before that on record. So, the real effects are felt by the people that are most intimate with their natural habitat. In 2013, there was a huge scandal in government where about $1 billion was stolen by government officers and politicians. And so because of that, the development partners, the United Nations, the European Union, the United States government, the Japanese government as well, they are very angry. They became very angry at Malawi because they would help us with money, but we would take the money, put it in our pockets, and spend it on luxury trips to Paris or whatever it was. And because of that, they've cut budgetary support for this year from the budget. Now, Malawi's government is supported 40% by foreign aid, and so the foreign aid partners have cut budgetary support this year, which means that there's a lot of questions looming in the minds of many Malawians, including myself, as to where are we going to get enough medication to provide health care to the people in the village, where are we going to get enough books to provide to the students in the schools. By the way, the student to teacher ratio in Malawi is 1 to 70. So for every one teacher, there's 70 pupils or students in a classroom. That's me, and that's Reiko-san from my lab here at Doshisha Daigaku. And we're working on a speech synthesis system. Basically, we are going to translate text in my local native language into speech, to be able to have different applications. Like, obviously when you go on the train, it tells you that the next stop is at Homachi or wherever. But we're trying to do the same application for my local language, which has never been done before. So it's kind of hard, but there's a lot of help. There's very good equipment, and there's very good professors that always try to give me the help that I can get. And she helps me as well very much. So as I said, I'm studying for my MSc here in Japan. One of my biggest lessons being in Japan is just the power of information, the power of sharing that information. Knowing that the train's going to be late helps you plan. Knowing how long it's going to be late helps you plan even better. And so just simple things like those. Getting on time at a place helps the other person get their job done much better. And those are things that maybe are not very native to my culture, so I'm coming here and I'm learning these things, and I'm learning to be more efficient in my processes and procedures. The stability in the infrastructure is amazing. Yesterday we had a okonomiyaki party at one of my friends' place. So they put the, I don't know what you call it, the thing that makes the okonomiyaki, and they put a little too many appliances, because they had the fridge there, they had the heater because it's cold, I can't stand the cold, they had the heater, they had that, all that stuff, and so it kind of flipped the switch. And for the first time in Japan, I witnessed a blackout. Now, these are things that it's easy to take for granted, but in my country, there are blackouts every single day, and it's not because of okonomiyaki, it's because of there isn't enough electricity. So the infrastructural stability in Japan is amazing, something that I'm learning from. Not a day as my gas, the only day my gas went off is because I didn't pay, because I couldn't read the gas bill. So they came and disconnected, and I had to call my friend here to say, why is there no hot water? So, but it wasn't because the government couldn't do it. So in my country, you wake up and you don't know if there's going to be hot water or not. So those are some of the things that I'm very happy about being here in Japan. It's very peaceful. I can go out at 1 a.m. and go to Family Mart and get me some noodles, and if I'm hungry. If I'm hungry in Malawi, I've got to wait till this morning because it's too dangerous to go out at night. So I love that about being in Japan. It's very peaceful too. I think in my apartment building I'm the most noisiest person, because I'm always listening to music and all that stuff. Nobody does anything. I don't even know if people live there. One of the things that I find difficult, as I said, is just to cope, because everybody's individualistic. Everybody does their own thing in the train. Nobody talks to each other. There's like, I don't know, 1,000 people in the train, but nobody's talking to each other. Everybody's plugged in, reading or playing video games on their phones. Phone games, I think they should call them. So that's one of the things that I found very difficult to like adapt to, because in my culture, everybody's in your face. When I go back to my country, everybody asks me, they want to know where I got my shirt from, how much I got it for, what apps I'm using on my phone. They want to see my pictures. They don't do that here in Japan. So I kind of found that a little bit, difficult to adapt to. But I'm used to it now. I also just plug in my earphones and get on with my business. As I said, lack of spontaneity and expressiveness. Sometimes I just want to play a quick football game with my friends. But I have to fill up this, calendar or emails. We have to send emails like, I'm going to be there at 7 on Saturday, the 14th of February. And, sometimes you just want to go there and you just feel like it. You just wake up on a Saturday, you just feel like going to play. You can't really do that here. I don't know, maybe if you've got friends, which I don't have too many local friends. But those are some of the things that I find a little bit difficult. Sometimes I play with Tom. He could just, I make him late all the time, so because of that, I let him win. But yeah, so I could do that. But one thing that I never get used to is the winter. Now this year was a little bit warm, because last year, by the time it was like, January the 1st, it was snowing in Kyotanabe, and it was my first time to witness snow, and I went crazy. I looked at the window and I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I didn't care about the temperature. It's only later that I started sniffing and stuff. But this year, it was a bit warm, and I thought, wow, this is going to be a really warm year. I was actually worried because, it was a bit worrisome until like 2 weeks ago that it started to get really cold again, and I'm like, okay, I don't mind the warmness actually. And so one of the things that I find quite interesting is that, being so cold in the winter, I would think that the summers should be pretty cool too. But in fact, they're very, very warm, actually warmer than my country. So that's one of the things that I found very difficult to bear with. I'm always sweating, I always have to drink a lot of water, and so that's something that's I'm still getting used to about being in Japan. That is a taxi, and that is a taxi passenger. And in most places in Malawi, in the rural areas, there isn't trains, or you can't use Google Maps to get around, So basically, the only way to get from the marketplace where you need to go buy your vegetables and stuff to your home, if you're working in the village, is to use one of these man-propelled taxis. And it works. These guys are extra fit, and they make a living, because sometimes it takes 20, 30 different customers a day, and they give them like $1 for every ride. So it's manual work, but it's better than living on $1 a day. So as I'm thinking of going back to Malawi, I think about these guys, and I think about what I can do to make a difference to people like these, as well as make a living for myself, because I want to be able to put food on the table for myself and my family as well. And so I look at Africa as something that we, the Africans first and foremost, myself, people that have been given the opportunities to come to places like Japan, but people that have also been given exposure within Africa to start to think of ways in which they can create change for themselves for the better, and to do it holistically. So I feel that we all have a role to play, me and my friends. I'm actually working on a company right now that I started up, a technological company called TNE, and it's a tech-based company. It's a mobile app that we're going to use. If you're thinking of coming to Malawi, you need to get it, because we're going to try to connect you with the local guys, like the taxi driver, or even the guy on the Lake Malawi with the canoe, so that you can have an authentic, alternative tourist experience in Malawi. Because you don't want to go to Africa and live in a fancy hotel. You want to actually experience what it feels like on the ground, and to dance with the locals, and to get on those type of bikes. So my startup aims to bridge that gap between local people that are already going around doing tourism, but also people that are thinking of coming to Malawi, and hopefully we're looking to expand to Zambia, Zimbabwe, and other Southern African countries.